Navtarang, Navtarang, Radio Navtarang, Radio Navtarang।
नवतरंग रेडियो के सुनने वालों को प्रकाश का प्यार भरा नमस्कार। अभी हाल के अवसर में आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि भारतवर्ष के एक पार्लियामेंटेरियन ने कुछ कुरान के उपलक्ष्य में कुछ अपना टिप्पणी पेश किया था। तो इसी सिलसिले में मैं कैनबरा के इंटरफेथ फोरम के प्रेसिडेंट से इसके विषय में कुछ वार्तालाप करूंगा और सभी के जानकारी के लिए ये जो इंटरव्यू है उसको हम इंग्लिश में कंडक्ट करेंगे, क्योंकि इंग्लिश जो है वो सभी वर्ग के लोग उसको समझ सकते हैं। तो जो विषय है वो है कि you must have heard about the news in which a Hindu Indian parliamentarian made certain comments regarding the truth of the Quran and some other unpleasant comments about Prophet Muhammad.
Yes, Prakash Bhai, I have heard of all the comments that you've just made about this person.
Can you please give your views regarding those comments?
First of all, Prakash Bhai, I need to make it very clear and right at the outset that I'm not here to criticize or make any adverse comments or offensive comments about any faith or any religion, whether it be Hinduism or for that matter, any religion. In fact, no individual is entitled to or should criticize any religion, as all religions belong to one true God. Give him any name you want, but he is the one and only. So we are all creatures of the same one God. In fact, the Holy Quran says that mankind is a single nation. Now I need to mention religions don't drop from above, but they come through prophets who receive the one God's revelation. What they receive and teach becomes a religion. Every nation had a prophet, and therefore every nation received a divine revelation. The Holy Quran says that there is not a single nation that did not have a prophet sent by one true God. Having said all that, let us now look at what was said that you are seeking my comments on. Firstly, that the Quran cannot be true as proved by the scientist, and she referred to and relied on chapter 88 verse 20, and that according to her interpretation, the verse says that the earth is flat, whereas the scientists say otherwise. And of course, she prefers to go along with what the scientists say. That was the first issue. The second issue, that Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old child and consummated the marriage when she was only 9 years old. Thirdly, she made a mockery of the spiritual ascension of Prophet Muhammad as stated in chapter 17, verse 1 of the Holy Quran, where Allah says that Allah carried Prophet Muhammad from Kaaba to Jerusalem. She made it sound as if that was a physical as opposed to the same being spiritual. And the fourth one, and the last one, she dwelt on the threats made for her, made for blasphemy. Can I first of all say this? It is most unfortunate that she said those things when in fact they are not only not true, but such comments trigger hatred amongst people of different faiths, and unfortunately, in this case, between the Hindus and the Muslims. Comments of that nature, either from the Muslims or Hindus, can never be justified, especially when they are not correct or are offensive. They were very provoking words and should never have been uttered. And we all know that ignorance can and does have very serious consequences. And in this case, it did. Look at the fighting and the unrest in India. This parliamentarian could not have been that naive not to see all that. So let us now go on and comment on each of those 4 issues. The first issue, that the Quran cannot be true as proved by the scientist, and she referred to and relied on chapter 88 verse 20, and again, according to her interpretation, that the earth is flat, whereas the scientists say otherwise. It is very dangerous approach to try to give an interpretation of an Arabic words when one does not have any knowledge of the Arabic language itself. Let us look at 8820. Reading the Arabic, the interpretation is, and the earth, how it is spread out. Not the earth is flat. The earth, how it is spread out. The Arabic word used is sutihat. This lady interpreted that Arabic word as flat. And for her education, the true word is satahu and basataha come from that, and it means pressed it, spread it out. So the earth is spread out, not it is itself flat. And anyone with very basic Arabic language or grammar will tell you this. Sataha means inflated, spherical and round. And of course, satahu means he grappled him and threw him to the ground, which means flattening or spreading out. And of course, the dictionary meaning, the Arabic English dictionary meaning, say the same thing, to level, to spread out. I hope I have attended to her first issue.
Thank you very much for your explanation on the above topic. Before we move on to the next issue, you have shown that it appears she couldn't rely on this issue that the earth is flat scientifically, that the Quran is incorrect. Can you show anything that is already in the Quran and that science prove the same to be true today?
Thank you, Prakash Bhai, for asking that important question. Yes, I can, and can give you few examples in the limited time we have. The first one is embryology. You know that in those primitive times, when the Holy Quran was revealed, there were no CT scans or X-ray facilities that we have today. The Quran sets out in detail the progress of the fetus stage by stage. So many scientists could not believe what they read in the Holy Quran and said that they were not humanly possible. Then they, after reading what was in the Quran, well before any scientific findings he accepted that the Quran was a divine book, and then accordingly he accepted Islam. That's the first example of embryology. The second one is that the Quran mentions that the seawater and sweet water meet, the rivers and seas. They meet, but they do not mix. Again, that was written over 1400 years ago. The scientists today make those findings well after it was written 1500 years ago. And the third example that I can give you, the mountains serve as pegs. That was in the Holy Quran, and the scientists today prove that the mountains serve as pegs. Now, I can go on and on. So if the point is that if the basis of this lady's conclusion that the earth, since the earth is not flat and the Quran is flawed, then on her own reasoning and logics, in view of what I have said, she has to admit that the Quran is the truth.
Thank you very much for your explanation. And the other issue that I would like you to shed some light on is that Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old child and consummated the marriage when she was only 9 years old.
All right, thank you, Prakash Bhai. Look, this issue is a very major issue, and that is that the allegation is that Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old child and consummated the marriage when she was only 9 years old. This view has been unfairly used against Islam and Prophet Muhammad, in that how could a prophet of God, a prophet of Islam, do this? Now, a short answer is that the allegations are not true. What makes it worse is that she referred to Dr. Zakir Naik, a Muslim, to support her views. With respect, in my opinion, both of them are mistaken, and let me give you my reasons. Now, before I go any further, the basis upon which they rely upon is in a hadith. And that single hadith says that, and it was not subject to any scrutiny at all. Right? And that's the only hadith, and a single hadith, and I repeat, the only and one single hadith which was not even tested as it should have been. In any event, the main source in Islam is the Quran, which overrides any other source, and even hadith. And as you know, hadith is something which they say that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had said, and that's the basis. Now, this particular hadith that they're relying upon, for people who are familiar with the famous Imams, for example, Abu Hanifa, Abu Malik, and Shafi, these two famous Imams have said that any hadith that has no root in Izaz, meaning in Makkah or Medina, they said any tradition with no root in Ijaz has no substance, meaning it's not trustworthy. This particular hadith says that the people seem to be referring to outside the Ijaz, and this is from Iran, and therefore Iraq, and this is the difficulty. Now, going back to answering this question, let me just say this, that the first response is this. Aisha, who was the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, who was alleged to be 6 years when she got married and 9 when marriage was consummated, was the daughter of Abu Bakr, a very close companion of Prophet Muhammad. He had a number of children, Abu Bakr had a number of children, and Aisha was one of them. All of Abu Bakr's children were born before Prophet Muhammad became a prophet. He became a prophet in 610. This is the Christian era. And we all know that he spent 13 years of his prophethood in Makkah before he migrated to Medina. Now, the marriage took place in the year of migration, which was 622, and consummated in 624. So even if, and this is the irony about the whole thing, even if Aisha was born just 1 year before Prophet Muhammad became a prophet, that would be 609. Aisha would have been at the very least 15 years old and 17 when it was consummated. The marriage took place in Medina well after the migration. Now, this is a universally accepted fact by both friends and foes. Please note that she would have been 15 if she was born in 609, but I will show that she was born in 605. So that would make her 17 at marriage, and of course 19 at the time of consummation. Now, the second thing that I need to make is this. What makes it even more interesting is that Prophet Muhammad died at the age of 62, and Aisha remained his widow for 40 years. Now, it's a simple mathematics. Prophet Muhammad's prophethood was for a period of 23 years. Aisha was 67 when she died. So she was 67 minus 40, that is 27 years old, when Prophet Muhammad passed away in 632. So Aisha's birthday would be 632, take away 27, makes it 605. In other words, Aisha would have been born 5 years prior to Prophet Muhammad becoming a prophet, that is in year 605. Now, the 2 points are established very, very clearly here. At migration, Aisha was 622 minus 605, which was her date of birth, and 622 is the year of migration, so she was 17 at the time of the marriage, and when the marriage was consummated 2 years later would make her 19. So, look, I'm mindful of the time, and I don't want to just carry on and on, but let me just say this to you, that just on this evidence, and I'm quite happy, and I'll give you my email address, and I'm quite happy for people to correspond with me, ask me questions, or even ask Prakash Bhai to contact me, and then I will answer the same accordingly.
The third issue she made was a mockery of the spiritual ascension of Prophet Muhammad, as stated in chapter 17:1 of the Holy Quran, where Allah says that Allah carried Prophet Muhammad from Kaaba to Jerusalem. She made it sound as if that was physical as opposed to the saying being spiritual.
Yes, Prakash Bhai, the Holy Quran in chapter 17 verse 1 mentions how Allah said that He carried His servant, that is Holy Prophet Muhammad, from Kaaba to Jerusalem. That was a spiritual experience, not a physical ascension. She does not know that chapter 17 verse 60 spells out that it was a vision. And look, I'm not surprised, because she's not the only one who is of this opinion that it was physical. Whereas if you one reads chapter 17 verse 70, it spells out that it was a vision. And this view is supported in a number of ways. Firstly, this was apart from the Quran specific ayat which says it was a vision, this was a vision of glory. Bodily ascension is not a Quranic theme. Admittedly, Prophet Muhammad was not asleep, but was in a vision, though not in a dream. Secondly, in the tradition of Al-Muslim and Tirmidhi Ibn Abbas, it relates that the apostle of God, which is Prophet Muhammad, has seen God in his heart, not his eyes. Thirdly, Malik bin Sashia Ansari relates that the Prophet saying, I was lying in Kaaba between the state of dream and consciousness. And then his wife Aisha reported that he was transported only by spirit. His body did not leave its place. And she was the wife, the most close, most intimate to Prophet Muhammad. And then the other important thing is this. There is not, and I stand subject to correction, of course, whatever I say, there is not a single reliable hadith that says Prophet Muhammad said it was a physical ascension. On the other hand, Prophet Muhammad said, whilst I lay on the ground next to the Kaaba, there came an angel and cut open my heart and took out my heart. And then a golden basin full of faith, remember, was brought unto me and my heart was washed. The fact that this experience was spiritual and not physical does not in any way diminish this extraordinary value attaching to this experience of the Prophet. It is a significant and a vital spiritual experience of Prophet Muhammad.
By the way, I'm speaking to Mr. Sahu Khan from Canberra, who is the president of the Interfaith Forum. And today we are discussing the Hindu-Indian parliamentarian's comment that was made on Quran and some other unpleasant comments about Prophet Muhammad. The fourth issue that we need to be highlighted is punishment for blasphemy. She dwelled on the threat made to her personally for blasphemy.
Prakash Bhai, the fourth issue which I identified in the beginning is about punishment for blasphemy. Now, she dwelled on the threats made to her personally for blasphemy. Now, those threats are wrong, and there is no doubt about it. They are wrong. They cannot be justified. It is un-Islamic. And to understand that, we need to understand, first of all, what is blasphemy. Blasphemy is generally defined as the exhibition of irreverent behavior or language towards God, religion, or anything held sacred. And in this case, of course, Prophet Muhammad. Now, it is a sensitive issue for many, especially those who have an unshakable faith in their beliefs, religious leaders, holy book, places of worship, and the rituals. So what was said in the instant case does amount top blasphemy. Offensive statements made against the Holy Quran and our Prophet Muhammad does amount to blasphemy within the definition. Now, the Holy Quran mentions many blasphemous utterances by non-believers and hypocrites against Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of God be upon him, without him sanctioning and without the Holy Quran sanctioning any physical punishment for the perpetrators. Allah says, verily, those who annoy Allah and His Messenger, that is Prophet Muhammad, Allah has cursed them in this world and in the hereafter, and has prepared for them an amazing punishment. And those who malign believing men and believing women for what they have not earned shall bear the guilt of calumny and a manifest sin. In other words, that's how strongly the Holy Quran says on this issue. But at the same time, it is abundantly clear that there is no punishment in Islam for blasphemy. No such punishment is prescribed in the Holy Quran or any of the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Islam promotes the need for respect of all religions for the sake of peace in society, but it does not set out any punishment for blasphemy despite the offense it may cause people of faith. Now we have evidence in the tradition of the Holy Prophet Muhammad where the chief of the hypocrites used to continuously abuse the Prophet and opposed him severely in Medina. When he passed away, the Prophet stood to offer his funeral prayers, but was asked by one of his companions, "O Allah's Apostle, do you offer the prayer for this man, although he said so and so and on such and such date, and that he is a hypocrite?" The Holy Prophet ignored that statement and continued to offer the funeral prayers of the dead man. Now, the above example shows that the Prophet never ordered any punishment for anyone or insulted or abused him or God. On the contrary, he went on to pray for them that they may be guided right. Now, much has been written on the subject. For further details, I can go on and on, but I'm quite happy to answer any other questions that people may later want to have. If somebody uses foul language against any holy person or teaching, in this case the Prophet Muhammad, Islam, which is the Holy Quran, advises to keep away from such people, as the Holy Quran says, "And when you see those who trifle with our signs, turn away from them until they engage in a discourse other than that, and if the Satan cause thee to forget, then sit not after recollection with the unjust people." It should be noted that abasing punishment of blaspheming God and His Messenger rests with God alone. He is the one to do this. Let's not play God. We don't take this on our own hands. And it is up to Him, God, whether He punishes such person in this world or in the hereafter. And the authority to punish for the blasphemers has not been delegated to anyone. It was not even delegated to the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Now, the Holy Prophet was repeatedly mocked at by the believers in his own time. And the Holy Quran points out his opponents' claim that he was a madman. In fact, the Holy Prophet, as I said, was repeatedly mocked at by the believers. The Holy Quran points out that his opponents claimed he was a madman. And this is a verse in the Holy Quran, chapter 15, verse 7. He was called a madman. And that there is madness in him. Indeed, many of the disbelievers thought that he was a victim of deception and treated him as a liar. Furthermore, he was labeled as a poet, a fabricator by the disbelievers. But the blasphemous statements did not stop there. Not only did they make personal attacks on the Prophet, they also insulted the Holy Quran, calling it a book of confused dreams. Indeed, the Holy Quran itself points to the fact that they saw its instructions as mere stories of the ancients. Now, the point is that despite the ill treatment and disrespect shown to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and the Holy Quran, God instructed him not to retaliate, because Allah says, "We will surely suffice thee against those who mock you." In other words, God Himself is sufficient to deal with those who commit blasphemy against Him, the Holy Prophet or the Holy Quran, and does not allow anyone else to mete out punishment in this regard. The Holy Prophet was advised by God to remain patient and to follow not the disbelievers and the hypocrites, and leave them alone their annoyance and put their trust in Allah. For Allah is sufficient, the Holy Quran says, as a guardian. The Holy Quran gives clear guidance on how Muslims should behave when they are faced with those committing blasphemy. Instead of punishing the blasphemers, believers are advised to leave the company of such people until they change the topic of their own. Anyone who takes the trouble to find out that Islam and the Prophet taught would be criticizing the individuals, not the religion of Islam or the Prophet. If any individual says or does anything wrong, meaning contrary to his or her religion, then for God's sake, criticize the individual or individuals, not the religion. And this applies to anyone, whether it's Islam, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism, whatever. Now, apparently, this lady was threatened to be killed. With such beautiful guidance promoted in the Holy Quran, how can anyone even contend that the punishment of death for blasphemy is justified in Islam? And the short answer is, it is not. What happened, the threats made to this lady, was un-Islamic. I hope I have clarified all the misconceptions on all the 4 issues. Can I also please encourage the audience to ask any questions that they may have? I would also take this opportunity to thank Radio Navtarang, and particularly my dear brother, Prakash, for giving me this opportunity. And I'll give you my email address. It's very easy. It's sdsahukhan, SAHUKHAN, all one word, @hotmail.com. Thank you, Prakash Bhai.
That concludes the interview with Mr. Sahu Khan, who's the president of the Canberra Interfaith Forum, regarding the comments made by this Hindu parliamentarian on Quran and Prophet Muhammad. I hope it has been very informative, and should anyone has any queries or need further clarification, you can always contact Radio Navtarang or call Mr. Sahu Khan on 0411 031 324 or email sdsahukhan@hotmail.com.